Hello and welcome back to another great session. What is MOLAP? So in the last topic we learned about what is ROLAP. So in this topic let's learn about what is MOLAP, advantages, disadvantages, etc. The MOLAP concepts are a little bit confusing, so please pay a little more attention while listening to this topic. This topic is a little bit big compared to other topics because MOLAP concept itself is big. So without further delay, let's move on with what is MOLAP. So this is a widely used OLAP system as it facilitates some of the things as follows. So multidimensional OLAP or MOLAP is a classical OLAP that facilitates data analysis by using a multidimensional data cube. Data is pre-computed, pre-summarized and stored in a MOLAP, a major difference from the ROLAP. Using a MOLAP, a user can use a multidimensional view data with the different facets. Multidimensional data analysis is also possible if a relational database is used. By that, would require querying the data from multiple tables. On the contrary, MOLAP has all the possible combinations of the data already stored in a multidimensional array. MOLAP can access this data directly. Hence, MOLAP is faster compared to relational online analytical processing, which is also called as OLAP. Alright, what are the key points in OLAP? So in OLAP, the operation is called as processing because data used for the representation is either sliced, diced or pivoted or aggregated. Hence it is called as processing of the data. Second point, MOLAP tools process information with the same amount of response time irrespective of the level of summarizing. So there is no difference in the query performance when the data is processed at the different level. For example, if you want to look at the data at the county level or state level or national level, response time is same at every level. Third thing is MOLAP tools remove complexities of designing a relational database to store the data for analysis. MOLAP systems are so efficient that data is analyzed and processed on the fly without any further delay. This is beauty of this system, So whereas the ROLAP systems are designed for the specific purpose, which does not fit in for all the purposes. Next key point, MOLAP server implements two levels of storage representation to manage the dense and spare data sets. As the name indicates, data stored in the multidimensional OLAP is at the two levels. For example, sales data could be viewed in the dimensions or the product model, time or the product model and time, etc. So as one level and another level could be geography and sales number. What is the next key point? The storage utilization can be low if the data is sparse. If the data is the sparse, that means data is not handled in a complex way. So if the data is not handled in a complex way, even the storage utilization of the RAM will also be very less, which will improve the performance of the data warehouse. What is the next key point? Facts are stored in multidimensional array and dimension used to query them. Let's quickly understand what is fact and dimension from the data warehouse perspective very quickly. Anyway, there is a dedicated topic on this, which we will be discussing them in details. Alright, so you have your employees, their ethnicity, their height, weight, color of the skin, salary, etc. So you will now come up with the dimension table where you would be storing employee name. Please pay attention. You would be coming up with a dimension table where you would be storing employee name, date of joining, employee number in the dimension table as they are the dimensions. At the same time, you'll be storing employee number, the height, weight, color of the skin, scale or salary in the fact table, as these are the facts of a person. So in MOLAP, there will be an n number of fact tables created with the concept of multidimensional array, and there will be one dimension table for all of that. So this is about what are the key points in MOLAP. Next, we are going to learn about what is MOLAP architecture. So the MOLAP architecture includes the following things. One is database server and the MOLAP server and the front-end tool, which is also called as user interface. So this, the MOLAP architecture given in the figure, you can see the user request, the data, request the reports through this interface. The application logic layer of the MDDB retrieves the stored data from the database. So this is the logic which is there available in this, like metadata processor will retrieve the data for the request it is got from the interface. So the application logic layer, it does is it forwards the result to the client server. Okay, this is the MOLAP server, which is nothing but the client server. So MOLAP architecture mainly reads the pre-compiled data. That means your data is already compiled within the OLAP cube itself. MOLAP architecture has limited capabilities to dynamically create aggregations or to calculate results that have not been pre-calculated and stored. So this is slightly confusing. So I would want to give an example. Say, for example, an accounting head in a company can run a report showing the corporate profit and loss account, the P&L account, or the profit loss account for a specified subsidiary. The MDDB, so this is metadata database, would retrieve the pre-compiled profit and loss figures and display the result to the users. So this is about how actually the data is retrieved when the user sends a request through the front end. What are the MOLAP advantages? So the MOLAP can manage, analyze, and store considerable amounts of multidimensional data. So the quick example will be like, sales data can be stored at various levels such as geography, time period, sales range, product model, etc. Second MOLAP advantage is it's a fast query performance due to optimized storage, indexing, and caching. As I explained, the data retrieved from the query is fast because storage is optimized and data columns are indexed for the better performance. The next advantage of MOLAP: smaller sizes of the data as compared to the relational database. Since the data being stored is multidimensional, smaller sets of the data is stored and at the different levels. So it helps, MOLAP easier to be suitable for, So automate computation at higher level of aggregated data. So what does it mean? So it basically, you have a data at the different level, right? So when you have a data at the different level, so that level will be at the different business unit level or at the different, at the different company level itself, because the conglomerates like, General Electric, it has a various different companies within its arm. So you have to create a different OLAP cubes or the databases in such a level that this data could be automated by using some automation of the tools. Next is help users to analyze the larger or less defined data. There are basically like, the help users to analyze larger and less. So that means like, to give an example, right? So multidimensional data can handle various different types of data at the larger volume. So when you have the data, right? So at the larger volume, you sometimes you may not be able to, define each and every functions. But as a MOLAP, as it's a queue alone itself, it can at least handle the data in such a way that it wouldn't affect the performance of the MOLAP. So MOLAP is easier to the user. That's why it is suitable model for inexperienced users. So data modeling itself has already taken care of structuring the data, because MOLAP will be taking care of that. So there is not much required from the user side to do while analyzing this data. Hence, it is very user-friendly. MOLAP cubes are built for the fast data retrieval and are optimal for slicing and dicing operations. So what do you mean by this? So like I already said, right, the MOLAP, we have a multidimensional perspective of the data, and the data is again segregated by creating the smaller cubes. So when the data is requested from the front end, the retrieval of the data would be fast, and you can still perform some analytical operations like slicing, dicing, pivoting, rolling up or drilling down operations. So the next one is all calculations are pre-generated when the cube is created. So all the aggregations are pre-calculated when the cube is created, so the faster the performance. That means within the OLAP cube itself, you are going to perform the aggregations, and those aggregated data will be created as another cube. So when the user requests that aggregated data, the data request would go to the smaller cube rather than the bigger cube. So when it goes to the smaller cube, you have a small amount of data. So because of small amount of data, the report which can retrieve the data very quickly. So these are about some of the MOLAP advantages. Now let's understand what are the MOLAP disadvantages. When there is an advantages, there should be always disadvantages. No system can have only the advantages, right? So the first one is, one major weakness of the MOLAP is that it is less scalable than the ROLAP, as it handles only a limited amount of data. Since MOLAP is designed for a specific purpose, right, you can scale it up for additional data and the designs. Next disadvantage is the MOLAP also introduces data redundancy, as it is resource intensive. Since the data handled in the MOLAP is multidimensional, same data is stored at different levels along with some additional data. For example, sales data is stored in two cubes. One cube has a sales data at the geography level, another cube has a sales data at the product model level, another at the time period level, which causes redundancy among the data, which can even lead to ambiguity whoever is using the data from those cubes. So third disadvantage is MOLAP solutions may be lengthy, particularly on a large data volumes. Since you have to build cube for each level, for each dimensions, the solution becomes lengthy when it comes to the implementation, because you're segregating the data based on like one user or 10 users, or based on the departments, based on the organizations within a major organization, so that the implementation will be lengthy. Next option is MOLAP products may face issues while updating and querying the models when dimensions are more than 10. So when you have dimensions more than 10, the performance of the query and the results become slow, and system may get hanged because of this. So this is the problem when you have a large amount of data within the MOLAP system. Next one is MOLAP is not capable of containing the detailed data. The storage utilization can be low if the data set is highly scattered. So it can handle the only limited amount of data. Therefore, it is impossible to include a large amount of the data in the cube itself. So the storage utilization can be low if the data set is highly scattered. So basically, what happens is, if the the data, just like you're filling up a vessel with a less amount of data, but it can occupy more. So if you're not properly manage the data is not structured, the data is highly scattered. So then that time, the utilization of the space is more, but you are not holding really the more data. So it can handle the only limited amount of data. Therefore, it seems possible to include a large amount of data. So cube can handle certain amount of data as it is subset of larger data sets. So the data handling capacity within the cube is limited. So just to recap, right, what we have learned. So the multidimensional OLAP or MOLAP is a classical OLAP that facilitates data analysis by using a multidimensional data cube. MOLAP tools process information with the same amount of response time, irrespective of the level of summarizing. MOLAP server implements two levels of storage to manage the dense and sparse data sets. MOLAP can manage, analyze, and store considerable amounts of multidimensional data. It helps to automate computation of higher level of aggregated data. It is less scalable than the ROLAP as it handles only limited amount of data. So this is all about the MOLAP cubes or type of the OLAP cube, which is called as the MOLAP. This is a very little bit of technological chapter, or the technology based chapter. So so you have to really pay attention while listening to the lecture. I hope I was able to help you to understand MOLAP cube. I will see you in the next chapter. Thank you.